Chronic asthma. It is a chronic inflammatory disease of the lungs in which the bronchial airways periodically and temporarily narrow in response to stimuli. Normally, these airways narrow to prevent harmful substances from entering the lungs, but in asthmatics, the airways narrow too easily, too much, and in response to things that would ordinarily cause a reaction. This narrowing makes breathing very difficult for an asthmatic. Asthma is a common disease affecting approximately 10% of children, 5% of adults. With allergies and asthma, allergies are the result of the body's immune system perceiving a harmless foreign substance as dangerous. In asthmatics, allergic reactions can trigger an asthma attack when common allergens such as pollens, mold spores, dust mites, cockroach particles, and animal danders are inhaled into the lungs. So now that we know how the lungs function and how COPD affects the lungs, let's look at ways COPD can be prevented from progressing. COPD is treatable and can be prevented from progressing. It is treatable through respiratory medications to relieve symptoms and control the inflammation in the lungs. One way to control them is through metered dose inhalers, or MDIs, and those are your puffers, inhalers, and they dispense medication to open the airways, or dry powdered inhalers, which are DPIs, and those are more of your steroid type medications like Advair or Spiriva, and those are more of a long acting medication which allow the COPD to breathe easier for longer periods of time. COPD is also treatable with oxygen. Supplemental oxygen is prescribed if tests show that the level of your oxygen in your blood is too low. So like those patients with emphysema who cannot exchange the gas of oxygen and carbon dioxide properly when alveoli is crushed, these are the patients who mostly are on oxygen. If the level stays too low for too long, serious problems can develop in many parts of the body, and then a doctor will prescribe oxygen for them. And there's three types of oxygen. There's a gaseous oxygen, which you see patients with a cylinder. There's an oxygen concentrator that they can have in their home that generates oxygen on its own. The oxygen we breathe right now is 22%. So a person who has emphysema has a very difficult time breathing. So an oxygen concentrator actually gets rid of the carbon dioxide in the air and generates over 90% oxygen level for that patient. And there's also liquid oxygen for those patients that liquid oxygen is a gas that is cooled to a very low temperature and it becomes liquid. It is kept in special containers to maintain its low temperature. So quitting smoking could be the most important thing a person with COPD definitely could do and prevent COPD from progressing. When you smoke, you inhale chemicals and particles that irritate the airways in your bronchial tree, which is your bronchial tubes. It's never too late to quit smoking. Your health will start to improve on the same day you smoke your last cigarette, actually. In 8 hours of quitting that last cigarette, the level of your oxygen in your blood will go up within 2 weeks to 3 months. Blood and oxygen will circulate through your body better. Lung function also improves. Within 1 to 9 months, coughing, fatigue, and shortness of breath also decrease. With these helpful hints to keep COPD under control, dealing with depression is another part of COPD many encounter. So there are certainly ways to keep control of your own life when you have COPD that help you from staying depressed. Learning different breathing patterns and relaxation techniques can keep you more positive and less fearful of the disease, actually. Managing your time and pacing yourself can help you conserve energy and do more as well. A COPDer needs to plan their day-to-day tasks, like going to the grocery store, different jobs they have to get done during the day. They need to plan them accordingly so they don't get too tired with lack of oxygen. Exercise is also very important to treatment, even if you become short of breath. The COPD needs to talk to their doctor about what exercises they should do, and they need to maintain a healthy weight and not exercise too much, obviously. So in conclusion, now we have learned about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and the treatments available to help the disease. We learned how COPD is caused and what a person's lungs look like who has COPD, how COPD can be treated and prevented from progressing, and ways you can help those who have COPD from getting depressed by taking control of their own lives. And one good example I have in conclusion is I delivered oxygen myself actually for 7 years to a patient named Mrs. Kraft, and she was a very very sick patient, a COPD patient who had emphysema, and she smoked her whole life, and she was on oxygen for those whole 7 years that I delivered to her. But I can say that every day that I was there to see her, she was nothing but all smiles, and she made a difference in people's lives, and she didn't let that get her down, and she made others in her life and people around her very happy. So I can say that COPD is a very sickening disease, but there's those out there that don't let it get them down. So thank you, and thanks for listening. All right.